Namaste, can you hear me? Namaste, yes. I hope you had a blissful week. There is some internet issue here, but you have to be patient. This is India, I'm speaking from India, and okay. Last week I talked about the 7 types of yoga. They are not different yogas. They are different aspects of the same yoga. Please understand that. They are not different yoga that you can practice one yoga, your friend can practice another yoga, your neighbor can practice another yoga. They are all various aspects of the same yoga. Just for your recollection, let me enumerate to begin with what were those yogas. Just for your recollection. The first yoga was Kaushala yoga, meaning yoga of excellence. Kaushala. The second yoga was Samatva yoga, yoga of equanimity. The third yoga was Samadhi yoga, yoga of bliss, the art of being blissful all the time. The fourth yoga was Viyoga yoga, the yoga of detachment or non-attachment. The fifth yoga was Aishwara yoga, yoga of creativity. When you are in a creative mood, then you are in yoga. And the sixth yoga was Ananya yoga, yoga of oneness. And the seventh yoga was Nirodha yoga, yoga of awareness. When you are awareful, the thoughts become still. Then you have access to that infinite consciousness. So these were the 7 aspects of the same yoga. You can begin from any of these points, but you will reach the center of yoga. Now, so our goal is to be a yogi, not a bhogi, which we are. That need not be a goal for you. You are already a bhogi and a rogi also, a sickly person, because of the excess of bhoga or consumerism. So our goal is to be a yogi or an enlightened person. That is another way of putting it. Or a mukta purusha, a suddha purusha, an accomplished person. Who is an accomplished person, a suddha purusha? Who doesn't seek happiness in the world, who doesn't seek security in the world, who doesn't seek identity in the world. At this point, our security, our identity, and our happiness depends upon what we have and what we consume. I made it very clear from the very beginning. At this point, my security depends on how much I have in the bank. Or my identity depends upon how much I have. My happiness also depends upon how much I consume. The more I consume, the happier I am. That's the kind of ideology that we are pursuing now, that's being propagated now, which we know has created all this environmental problem, health issues, iniquity in the world. So we want to be a yogi. And to be a yogi, you need a equanimous mind. The mind can take you to the world of constant change, of gain and loss. The mind can also pitchfork you into the higher levels of blissful consciousness. Mind is like a ladder. You can climb down, descend, and you can climb up, ascend. Mind mediates between consciousness and the world. So mind is a very important instrument. Don't kill the mind. Some people take some drugs and bam Mahadeva. You don't become Mahadeva by that. You need a steady mind as a platform for you to leap into that higher level of consciousness. From where you look at the world, it makes sense. The world makes sense. Otherwise it doesn't make any sense. So therefore, we need a proper mind. A mind where reason and passion work in a tandem together. Where your reason is moderated by your passion, emotion, and your emotion is moderated by your reason. That kind of a mind. It is not going to extremes, extremely rational, devoid of emotions, or always emotional, sans reason. So reason and passion are two wings of the mind by which you can lift it to a level from where you can leapfrog into the higher level of consciousness. So how do we prepare the mind for this? At this point we have the mind with which we are dealing with the world in a very unintelligent way. So we have to use this mind not only to deal with the world, we also have to use this mind to recover our lost sense of identity and bliss. Mind like a knife, you can cut both ways. So don't give up this mind. Mind is very important. And mind we have seen made up of reason and passion. Passion gives you the energy, reason gives you the direction. Energy without direction is dangerous. Direction without energy is a status quo situation. So we need both. You have to cultivate both, the reason as well as passion. So when you cultivate reason as well as passion together, understanding that two sides of the two wings of the mind, if the mind has got only one wing and it cannot take off and give you a platform from where you can move into that higher level of consciousness. So at this point we are creatures of impulses. Impulses. Whatever we want to do, there is no discipline, control over the mind. Mind is going ever here and thither. So we have to bring some kind of a discipline to the mind, which is the meaning of education and culture anyway. To educate means cultivate the mind. At this point, mind is extremely dissipated, distracted, agitated. And then this mind become a problem for us. But the same mind can be used to realize our inner potential. So don't drop the mind. Cultivate the mind. And mind has immense energy, which you call passion. Passion is to be restrained by reason. How do we do that? When you control the mind or discipline the mind, manage the mind. Manage your passion with reason. This day they call it emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, EQ. The famous book Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Kahneman. He borrowed it from Bhagavad Gita and Buddhism, I tell you. He picked up this idea, developed it and marketed it, and then he has become a big man. It's all Bhagavad Gita idea from here and there, cannibalizing and then developing it. No problem. That's no problem. So how do I cultivate, discipline, organize my mind? How do I bring reason into the play of the mind? That is the question we are going to discuss today. So that this mind can be used to leapfrog into that state of yoga or enlightenment. And for that, we have to apply values. Value. Value means a discipline. And what are values? We talk about value-based education, value-based politics, value-based business, blah, blah, all that. What are values? That's what we are going to discuss today. So value means something which you cherish. Something which you cherish in a person or a place or a thing or an idea, for which you are ready to make a sacrifice. That's the meaning of value. I am ready to make a sacrifice for something which I cherish as valuable, as an end value. Values are two types, end value and instrumental value. For example, if I need a kilogram of sugar, I go to the market, get the sugar, and I pay them something, isn't it? I pay them something from my hard-earned income. So what I pay for a kilogram of sugar is the value that I give to the sugar. That sugar gives me that much utility or satisfaction. I am ready to sacrifice my hard-earned money for that 1 kilogram of sugar. Or similarly, when you study for your examination as a student, you give up TV, you give up internet, you give up playing outside. It's a little difficult at that time. But you are giving up your immediate pleasure for a long-term good. So you are sacrificing something. So this something which you are sacrificing for something greater good is called the value I attach to that. So the money that you pay from a kilogram of sugar is the instrumental value. And the kilogram of sugar, then you consume it, and the joy that you get out of it as the sugar spread in your bloodstream, you have got a joy out of that. That is called the end value. So there are two types of value. Instrumental value, end value. There are many ways you can describe values. Instrumental, and store value, exchange value, and all that. I am not going to all that. For us, this will do. There is an end value, a value which itself is valuable. And that which takes you to that end value is called instrumental value. So what is the end value that we are seeking in life? Happiness, everybody knows that. Happiness, health, bliss, freedom, justice, etc. And that to discover that happiness is not outside, we know that. It is within ourselves, it is our own nature. So discover that happiness, like even if you want to see the depth of a lake, the water has to be calm. When the water is calm, then you can see the depth of the lake. Don't you say sometimes, I was out of my depth. That's a beautiful phrase in English. I was out of my depth. Meaning the mind became disturbed, so I lost myself. I lost my equanimity, I lost my inner bliss. Then I am out in the world fighting with everybody. So as the mind is calm, quiet, then you will be able to discover your inner beauty, inner quietude, inner joy. So one has to make the mind calm. And how do you make the mind calm? By applying values, these values which I am going to enumerate now. Applying some discipline to the mind. And then the mind will be calm. And mind you, mind become active in interaction. When you interact, the mind appears. Otherwise, you don't have a mind. Mind subsides. If you are sitting in a cave and you don't meet anybody, then there is no mind for you. Of course, you can have some thoughts of the past. It is only when you deal with the world, interact with the world, you give something and when you expect something from the other. So it is only in interaction the mind is active. Then alone you can apply these values which you are talking about. This discipline. So therefore don't think of going to the Himalayas and purifying and disciplining your mind and then coming back into the world. I always say that. Some people tell me, Swami, I spent 20 years in the Himalayas, I never got angry. Possible, because you never met anybody there to be angry. Anger is all there in your depth of your mind. And when you come out, the anger again manifests like the dirt which is gathered at the bottom of a lake. When you throw a stone, and the dirt manifests. So in isolation, the mind doesn't bother you. You can sit somewhere in a corner and say, I have become a holy man. but I tell you, you are still hollow. You cannot become that holy. So one has to be actively involved in the world for the mind to manifest. Then you have to apply these values which I am going to enumerate now. Those values. So by applying those values in interaction, because mind manifests in that interactive space. So one definition of mind is an interactive space. When I meet you, then my fear, my tension, my anger, my love, my attachment manifests, my desire manifests. Desire is always with reference to something else. So one thing we have to learn is, if you want to discipline, manage and train and develop the muscles of the mind, you have to be in interaction. Just as you want to develop your muscles and biceps, you have to lift heavy and heavier stones. Similarly, we have to interact. We have to meet with other people. We have to be in nature. Then alone, mind can be understood, manifested, and then discipline can be applied. So this is a very, very important point. Because most of the spiritual people think, I will retire into a forest or a cave or an ashram, then I will, try to discipline the mind, do some japa or chanting and all that. That's not going to work. At ashram you may look very nice, but when you come back again, the problem. Ashram also full of problems, I tell you. Don't think ashram is a very serene place. Ashram also there are problems, there are people, they meet and they discuss. Just as in a family, ashram is a larger family, that's all. So one has to be in interaction. And the more you are in interaction, the worrier, I should tell you. Then you understand the whole problem of the mind, how the mind is dealing with the world. So one very important point which I don't see most of the people emphasizing, that I want to emphasize, is the mind manifests in interactive spaces. Then you have to apply the values. So what are the values? So this is called to develop the emotional intelligence. So the mind is calm while you are interacting with the world. So there are 20 values I am going to talk, which you have to apply while you are interacting with the world, as a result of which you avoid reacting to sensations, that violent, uncontrolled reaction. You are able to respond to the world. There is a difference between reaction and response. A reaction is an uncontrolled response to sensation. You call your own son, your son of a donkey. That is a reaction. And the son says, Dad, this is the only truth you have said ever in your life. Why? If I am a son of a donkey, you must be that old donkey. Isn't it? So this is called a reaction. A response is a controlled reaction to the sensation. So that is what we want, a controlled, responsible reaction to the sensations of the world. After all, mind is the mediator between sensations and response. That's the job of the mind, function of the mind. So one has to apply these values, which I am going to say, 20 values. When you apply these values in interactive enterprises, then you develop the muscles of the mind. Mind becomes calm and quiet and serene and balanced, so that you can deal with the world in a better way, and also you can access to the infinite spiritual potential that is freely available for you. And that infinite power and joy and happiness can be manifested in all your interaction. You can spread the joy and happiness in the world. That's the program of self-redemption or enlightenment, and for which the mind is very important, and application of these values in interaction become very, very important. You can be in your home or your office or on the road, wherever you are, the boardroom or bedroom, wherever you are, you have to apply these values. Even dealing with your spouse, you need these values. Dealing with your children, you need these values. Dealing with yourself, you need these values. So whether you are dealing with yourself, your own mind, your own body, you need these values. What is value? Value is a sacrifice you make now for a greater good later. That is called a value. And a sacrifice you make now for a greater good for you and the whole world. And with that view, that is the end goal, end value, and the instrumental value. And that goal is to be a happy, healthy, loving, caring, inclusive person. For that, you have to, and the Vedantic literature, we put all these values together, we call dharma, a dharmic life, or jnana, a knowing mind. We have to create a knowing, perceiving mind. At this point, you don't know anything. You only have some knowledge. That knowledge is worthless of the past, read from the books, or which are collected in an unconscious state of mind, in an ignorant state of mind. So we have to cultivate a knowing mind or a perceiving mind, which is called jnana. That's the word used in the Bhagavad Gita. So the jnana. So these 20 values I am going to give you are from the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Those who are students of Bhagavad Gita, from the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the 7th to 11th sloka, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. If you follow the Shankara's version of Bhagavad Gita, if you follow the Madhusudana Saraswati's version of Bhagavad Gita, then I would say it is from the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th sloka, from the 13th chapter. So my data is from the 7th chapter, these 5 slokas, 7 to 11 or 8 to 12. Those who are students of Gita, they can see that. So by applying these values in life, it's something like in a creaky machine. The mind can become like a creaky machine, then you have to put some oil into that. Otherwise it will give you that jarring noise. And it doesn't take you to a destination. So what are these values? You must be wondering now. Okay, you are impatient now. Give me those values. But you should know why these values, what is the end goal, and where you have to apply it. So in interaction, while you are dealing with your spouse or children, your employer or your employee, or your friend, your neighbor, then the mind manifests. So apply these values so that your mind is always in balance. You have developed emotional intelligence. Let me put that way. A balanced mind, meaning a non-reactive mind, but a responding mind. That is the purpose. That is what we are discussing today. So what are those values which I have to apply in my life? So that you are an educated, cultured person. That you have some mastery over your mind. The first value is amanitvam. Amanitvam means humility. It's a very important value. Humility. Whether you are dealing with your children or spouse or employer, employee, practice this humility. What is humility? Humility is an attitude. I may not know. If I am wrong, explain to me how I am wrong. I may not know. I may be wrong. This is my opinion. I may be wrong. If I am wrong, explain to me how I am wrong. Humility is a knowing mind. Humility is an ability to listen to the other, to suspend your own opinion and listen to the other. So you have the benefit of adding the opinion of the other and have a better perspective about things. Humility. One of the teachings of the Upanishads is, those who say I know, they don't know. Those who say, I don't know, they may know. As Socrates was the wisest man in the world as according to the oracle of Delphi, Socrates said, I don't know, that is my wisdom. Any idea? Virtue. Socrates, what is virtue? Let us together inquire into the idea of virtue. What is truth? Let us together inquire into the idea of truth. What is courage? Let us together inquire into the idea of courage. So this attitude that I don't know is the best way of understanding things. If you think I already know, then there is no inquiry. A person who says I know is a dead person. A person who says I don't know is a living person. Is a perceiving individual. So Bhagavan says one value is humility, amanitvam. A humility makes you see things properly. So that attitude is very, very important. Amanita also means one who doesn't demand respect, but commands respect. Our main complaint is nobody respects me. But do you deserve any respect? That doubt is not there, that inquiry is not there. So Amanita is a very important value. I find most of our problem is we are seeking respect from the other. And when you seek it, they will deny it because that is the way to control you, manipulate it. I touch your feet and say, Swamiji, can you give me $50? Now I know why you touched my feet, isn't it? So always people try to manipulate you by respecting you, by giving you things. So be very careful. Don't demand respect. Command respect by the quality of your life. People will automatically respect you, but if you demand it and then you get it, even if you get it, it's not worth having it. But it was given to you by demand. You are not commanding. So therefore, humility is not demanding respect. Humility is an open mind. Mind which is open for the other people's ideas, so that you can express your idea and the other will listen to your ideas because you are given them an opportunity to say what they want to say. Our problem is always shoot in between. Before the other person completes the sentence, you shoot in, isn't it? That's why in a spousal relationship, no communication. Because you are listening to your own inner chatter and she is listening to her own inner chatter, and the twain shall never meet. Always give the other person opportunity, time to fully tell her story or his story. Then, when his story is over, then there is a silence, then you can tell your story. Then there is communication. Both of them listen. Both of them can understand not only the words but the feelings behind the words. The first value that you have to practice is humility. Humility makes your mind open. As somebody said, mind is like a parachute. It functions only when it is open. Otherwise it doesn't function. So make your mind like a parachute. Keep it open. Ano bhadra kradavo yandu vishwada. Let noble thoughts come from all directions, all sides. That should be your attitude. The first value. This you have to practice. Because values are to be practiced, not just simply preached. Values to be shown in action. And it takes time. Because you have driven on the wrong direction for a long while. You have taken a wrong exit and driven the wrong direction. You have to turn back. So practice these values. The first value is humility, and see how your life dramatically changes. The quality of life improves. Your perception improves. Your ability to understand the other person improves. Not only his words or her words, but the feeling behind it. The person behind it. Where is he coming from? Where is she coming from? Otherwise there is no communication. And we are communicating animals. We have to communicate. We have to talk. We have to express each other. We have to create communities. No community can be created without communication. The first value is humility, which is very, very important. And practices, and as you practice it, you will know different dimensions of this particular value. And which is a little painful initially. Initially it is painful, that I told you. These values will give you pain initially, but pleasure at the end of it. When the child is asked, study, don't play, it's painful for the child. But later the child will say, Mom, Dad, I did not know. Now I understand why you forced me to study. Now I have got a good grade, good job, and then I'm okay now. Isn't it? So that initial pain gives you lasting joy. These things we understand, but we don't practice. It's not that I'm saying something new, but we just don't practice. We don't have that emotional intelligence. As a result of that, we made our life miserable. And we have access to our own inner infinite bliss. So first value is humility. The second value is adambhitvam, absence of pretentiousness. Because we find even in nature, animals pretend to protect themselves. Isn't it? A chameleon changes its color. A frog, just puffs up itself to frighten a snake. Chameleon changes its color. So we find in nature lot of pretensions. And we also do that. We pretend what we don't have. By your vesha, bhasha, bhusha, by your dress, by your language, by your demeanor. We pretend what you are not. And it's a big burden. It's a big burden. You can fool a few people for some time, but you cannot fool all people all the time, isn't it? That famous words of Abraham Lincoln. We all are prone to that pretension. We pretend what we are not. We are inside something, outside something, and creates conflict. You think something, you say something, you do something. So we have become an utterly fractious personality. Totally disorganized. Pandemonium inside because of this. So don't pretend. There should be alignment between what you are inside and outside. That will give you a long mileage. As somebody say, if you want to appear for an interview, the first thing you do, go to the barber, the saloon, and get a haircut. Then a good suit and some makeup. So the barber and the tailor determines your personality, isn't it? And when you go appear for the interview, nothing inside, and you start sweating, all the makeup start running, isn't it? So don't pretend yourself. Be what you are. That gives you a solid personality. Then you have the ability to learn and improve yourself. Otherwise you never improve. You only make it from outside. Growth is always from inside out, not outside in. So don't pretend, Bhagavan says. Show to the world what you are, so that you become a solid personality of character. Ethics means having that character. So, adambhitvam, non-pretentiousness, that is called adambhitvam. Be what you are. Inside and outside are the same person. Another value, difficult. The difficult value, difficult to not to pretend, because you are afraid of the world. You are afraid of yourself. So that is the second value. The third value is called Ahimsa Non-Violence, which is a very important value. Ahimsa paramo dharma, according to Vyasa Bhagavan. Ahimsa paramo dharma, non-violence. Non-violence is inclusion. Include the other. Don't impose yourself on the other, whether it is your values or your faith or your opinion. Respect the other. The other is a unique individual, just as you are a unique individual. Don't claim any exemption for yourself. You are not exceptional, you are unique. Other also is unique. So respect, appreciate and respect the uniqueness of the other. Don't impose yourself on the other. That is why Bhagavan at the end of the Bhagavad Gita says, I have told you my peace of the mind. Now it is for you. Reflect on this and take your own decision. Don't blame me, don't quote me, Bhagavan says. It's your decision. You can consult me, you can consult others, you can consult yourself, and finally take a decision, feel responsible, be a man, as he says, or be a woman, whatever. So you have to be your own person. So that's the meaning of ahimsa, not imposing yourself on the other. Our tendency is to impose ourselves. If I like something, I want the whole world to like it. If I have one faith, I want the whole world to be having that faith. Because you are not sure about yourself, you need a lot of people with it. Which shows that inside you are hollow. Be strong. Don't impose yourself on even your children. Engage in a dialogue with them. The children are doing something which you don't like, engage in a dialogue. Baby, what do you think? Why do you do that? What outcome you want to create out of that action? This way, babies are intelligent, more intelligent than us. We think they are not intelligent. They are extremely intelligent. Actually, when they grow up, their intelligence gets duller and duller and duller and duller. They become the same routine things they do. Sometimes babies ask a very intelligent question for which you have no answer, isn't it? So don't impose yourself on the other. Everybody is a unique seed. They want to discover their own inner potential. So ahimsa means don't impose yourself. Let everybody have their own space around them so that you can have your space and grow in your own way. Ahimsa. So people say, oh, he hurt me, or I felt hurt, I am offended. This is the word I hear these days. I am offended. For what? Why are you offended? Because, he told you the truth. That is why you are offended. There is no need of feeling offense. Let everybody be themselves. So create the unique flowers in the garden of God, as they say. Ahimsa, very important value. Ahimsa paramo dharma. Especially in the modern world, this is a very important value. Because we are living under the threat of a nuclear war. We cannot afford to fight. If we fight, invariably, it will end up in a nuclear holocaust. So we cannot. The old philosophy of tooth for a tooth. We'll make all of toothless. A limb for a limb. We'll make all of us disabled, limbless. That philosophy can no more work. So ahimsa becomes very important value for the modern people. So ahimsa. So what are the three values, very important values? Humility, non-pretentiousness, and inclusion, accommodation. That's called ahimsa, not imposing yourself on the other. If you impose yourself on the other, you get a carbon copy of you. You are reducing the other into a thing, an instrument, not as an end value. Please, these are all very, very important. Every individual is an end in itself or himself. Ahimsa. And the fourth is Shanti. Shanti means patience. I think which is a very important value. Because we want to rush with a solution, premature solution. We want to pluck the fruit before it is ripe. and then you get a better taste in your mouth. The same fruit, when it is ripe, then it is sweet. So bide for your time. Your time will come. Be patient. Time will solve most of the problem. If you rush with the solution, it is like a pimple on your face. If you keep on running your finger around it, that will become a wart on your face. If you are patiently waiting, a whole lot of problems will be solved. But we are impatient. We want immediate, instant solution. As a result of that, you create more problems. So patience, time is the greatest healer. Wait for your time. Bide for your time. Don't rush. Then all problems will be automatically or effortlessly solved. Otherwise, you put in a lot of effort and then you get an unripe solution, and a lot of people are unhappy, and a lot of people are behind you, ready to pull you down. That's not a real success, he says. So please understand, Shanti is very, very important. Shanti means patience, time. Everything takes its own time. Isn't it? If you plant a sapling and you are impatient, as a struck root, every day you lift it, you pull it out and see, oh, it has not struck root. It will never strike root, I tell you. Patiently wait. Maybe pour some water, put some fence around it. So patience is very, very important. And then next is arjavam. Arjavam means straightforwardness. There is a certain alignment between your intentions, your thoughts, your feelings, your words, your actions, and your expectations. That is called arjavam. There is a certain alignment. Intention, your feelings, your thoughts, your words, your actions, and your expectation. Now there is no alignment between all this. You expect something, you say something, you do something, your intentions are something else. Isn't it? That has made your life utterly miserable. There is no effectiveness. Your words carry no force. Your actions are futile. If you have this arjavam, your words, just a word will be, just look, your presence is enough. Things will organize itself. So arjavam is very, very important. Then there is a very interesting acharyo bhasan, serving great people. Because culture is not in the books. Culture is in the practice of people. Ajara prabhavo dharma is. Dharma is based upon ajara, contact. Culture, we need cultured people. Culture is not in the library and museums. Unfortunately, we think that I have a big museum, big library, so I am a cultured person. You are not. Culture is in the behavior, practice, how you deal with your children, your spouse, your neighbors, your employees, your nature. There is where culture. Culture must have flesh and blood. Ajara prabhavo dharma. So we need such cultured people as a role model, as a coach, as a guru. They have dedicated their life and their whole being carry the fragrance and the flavor of culture. Culture is not in the museums, not in libraries, not in books. It is in the living people. So such living people, we must upasana, we must be with them, we must serve them, we must listen to them. Serving means to listen carefully. They have something to convey. They have something to convey. So acharya upasana, whether it is in medicine or sports or martial art or science, you need a guide, isn't it? If you want to get a PhD, you need a guide. So such people, acharat acharya. Acharya is one who practices what she or he preaches, who walks his talk. Which is very important, and we are lacking. This variety of people are extinct these days. For whom knowledge is it's their person. So we have to have the attitude of respecting and serving and giving the benefit of doubt to these kind of wise people. Acharyopasana. And the Ayurveda says, when you serve such people, you develop your immunity. That is one of the way to develop your immunity. You have to serve such great people. Watch them, how they are doing things. And this is one of the greatest traditions of Hinduism in India. We always respect such people. We always listen to them. We always sit at their feet. We always touch their feet. Acharyopasana. Then next value is, I can go on and on this, but the time is limited. So you can read these values in the Bhagavad Gita. The next value is Shaucham. Shaucha means cleanliness. Cleanliness means your body should be clean. Take a bath, brush your teeth, comb your hair properly, wear new clothes every day. From there onwards, cleanliness. And cleanliness of your emotional maturity. Emotions also are to be purified. Intellectual clarity, that is very important. Intellectual clarity. And an ability to locate your own ego in the family of egos, in the basket of egos. You have to be able to locate your ego. Your ego is not the supreme ego. You are part of the family of egos. Looking at yourself from the standpoint of the other, that is how you purify your ego. Don't eliminate your ego, which is not possible. We have already seen that. So you have to purify your ego. How do you purify your ego? Look at yourself, your ego, from the standpoint of the other egos. So purifying that, your intellect, clarity, your emotions, emotional balance, and your physical purity, and your environmental purity. I find in India, your house is very clean, very pure, you take bath, but you take all your gutter and clutter and your garbage and put it on the road or another neighbor's courtyard. Neighbor comes up in the morning, oh, here is an extra garbage, they collect it and put in your courtyard. So you need a cleanliness around you, you need a cleanliness within you, in your house and in your mind. So it goes all the way from the ego to the world outside. Purity is next to divinity, as they say. Cleanliness is next to divinity. So Shaujam, Stairyam. Stairyam means an ability to perseverance. When you take a program of action, you have to persevere. See it through to the end of that program. That is called Stairyam. Most of us, Swamiji, tomorrow onwards I am going to meditate. I am very inspired by your meditation. One day you meditate, 2 days, 3 days. Afterwards, what happened? Oh, I am busy. There is no Stairyam. You must persevere in it, persist in it, and see it to the end of it, which is very, very important, which we lack. We don't have that kind of ability, that persevere, that willpower. So Stairyam is very, very important, especially in spirituality. Consistency is very, very important. Not occasionally you do it, then you don't do it. Consistency becomes very, very important. Stairyam. Atma Vinigraha. Next value. Atma Vinigraha. Control over your senses and mind. control over your senses. A minimalist life, I should put that way. A minimalist life. There may be a lot of food item on the table, but you take only what is necessary for you. An ability to say no when necessary. That is called Atma Vinigraha, self-mastery over the senses, organs of action and organs of perception. Atma Vinigraha. What is organs of perception? You see something and you keep on seeing that. Or you taste something, you keep on tasting that. Addiction. Avoid addictive behavior. Atma Vinigraha. I would put in a modern language, Atma Vinigraha means leading a minimalist life. Take minimal so that you can give more. That will keep your health. When you eat less, take less, you keep your health. So Atma Vinigraha, control for the sense organs and organs of action. It's like controlling a horses. Suppose you are driving a chariot. You have to control the horse. Otherwise they will go run here and there and your chariot will split. So the control of the sense organs are very, very important. All this will lead you to supreme happiness. Immediately, instantaneously. You don't have to die and become happy. In this life, in this world, you can be happy. And happiness is our supreme goal. So Atma Vinigraha. Then Indriyartheshu Vairagyam, an ability to watch object of senses. To watch. Not to indulge. Indriyartheshu Vairagyam means that watchfulness. Like you watch a sunrise. You don't want to eat the sun. You only want to watch. When you watch, give some time. Take a breath. Then you can interact properly. Not that immediately you jump into that. Look before you leap, as they say. We don't do that. We immediately jump into that and make a mess of the whole thing. So watch before you reach. Look before you leap. So that is called Vairagyam, Indriyartheshu Vairagyam. Observe the situation. Then make your comments. Make your move. And you will be better off for that. Indriyartheshu Vairagyam. Then Anahangaram. Ahangara means doership. Most of the time you say, I did it. I did it. Without me nothing can work. And I will not let anybody work also without me. Isn't it? That's called Ahangara. I am the doer. I did it. It is in my leadership everything happened. I will not let anybody do. So looking at your ego from the standpoint of other egos are called Anahangaram. I have an ego, I understand. But I admit that you also have the right to have an ego. So the ability to manage different egos like a conductor of a music to create a symphony is called Anahangaram. Anahangaram, please understand that. This is another area where we make a lot of mistake. No, I don't want to. I am an egoless person. That is the greatest statement of ego, I tell you. One who says I am egoless, you have to be very careful with that person. He is pretending. Nobody can function without the ego, which I will see. The next talk I will be talking about that. But you must be able to keep your ego so that you can interact with the other egos. And I also told you, this ego is a Brahman project. Your uniqueness is a Brahman project. So, Anahangara Yavacha, don't say I did it, we did it. Don't take the claim for the outcome, share the outcome. Whatever balance remains, come to you. In the Yajna talk I mentioned that. Anahangara Yavacha. Like Lord Rama, Whenever he wants to assert, he can assert. Whenever he wants to be humble, he can be humble. Like Hanumanji. In front of Ravana, he is a giant. In front of Sita, he is very humble. Ability, this flexibility to project yourself when necessary, to recede when it is demanded, to be in the background and be in the foreground according to the need of the time or the occasion. This ability is very, very important. So, Anahangaram. Then next is Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Dosha Anudarshanam. Life is a package, he says. Life is a package made up of what? Janma, birth, Mrityu, death, Jara, old age, Vyadhi, diseases, and Dukkha, suffering. Suffering because you don't get always what you want. We want a lot of things. You may want to be the President of the United States, but it may not be possible. So therefore, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Doshaha. Be prepared. This is a package of life. Accept it easily. Accept it. Janma, birth. The one who is born shall die. You cannot. It's a law of nature. One who is born has to grow old. It's a law of nature. And we are living in an environment, there are a lot of viruses and whatnot. Therefore, there may be diseases occasionally. But then the body has got a way of managing itself. As I say, when you get a common cold, if you take medicine, 7 days. If you don't take medicine, 1 week. Isn't it? So therefore, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. The born shall die, ready for that. That is a package. And one who is growing must become old, it's a package. And if you are living in an environment with other kind of viruses and all that, you can get sick sometime, but the body has already known mechanism to preserve its health. Give it some time. Don't immediately reach for medicine. Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkham. Dukkha means you may not get what you always want. That's okay. After all, my happiness is within myself. I can manage. I can manage. Today there is no sugar. Okay. No sugar. No toothpaste. Okay. That's fine. This is not a big deal, it says. That's not a big deal. I can deal with that. I can manage that situation. Today there is no servant. Okay, I can manage. Today I have a headache. That's fine. I must have eaten something bad yesterday. So that ability to accommodate. Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. This is the package of life. Take it or leave it. That says. Take it or leave it. What else can you say? So Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Dosha Anudarshanam. If you can do that, it is a happy ride, he says. It's a joy ride. So next is very interesting. Asaktihi. Asakti means Sakti means attachment. We are attached to a lot of things. Putra Dhara Grahadish. Our children, our spouse, our house, our reputation, our property. How long can you be attached to that? How long? As long as you live in this body, isn't it? Then you have to leave everything. That famous story of Tolstoy. This guy ran and ran and ran and ran, thinking that all that property will be mine, and finally he got a heart attack and died. Isn't it? Then he recovered only a little bit of piece of land to bury himself. So he says, they are all there. They are all there. As long as they are there, enjoy it. So don't say that my life will be miserable without them. With them also, without them also, I am okay. And in spite of them also, I am okay. So putra dhara graha, wherever you have extreme in this kind of attachment, that I need them to be myself for my own security. That is called sakti, absence of that. I'm okay with them, without them, in spite of them. Sometimes in spite of them also you have to say, I'm okay. So this is called sakti, that I need them. Abhishangata means without them, I am them. I have no identity. My identity is them. My child is me. My car is me. My house is me. That kind of identification is called abhishangatum. So two ways. These are mine and I am they. Without them, I go crazy. Or without them, I am depreciated. Those kind of attitude. Especially putra dhara grahadishu, Shamara says. Putra means your children, dhara means your spouse, graha means your house, your car, your property, your bank balance, all this, your reputation, your success, your failure. All these you are extremely attached. If they are there, fine. If they are not there, I am okay. I can rebuild myself. I cannot bury myself in my possessions. I have to be the master of my possession. So asakti, anabhishangatam, two values. Sakti means seeing that they are mine. Abhishangatam means I am they. Avoid all that kind of mindset, he said. They are themselves, you are yourself, and together you are okay, without them also you are okay. Then you can rebuild, you can recreate. Otherwise you are stuck with what you have and there is no progress. So, asaktir anabhishangaha putradhara grahadishu nityam cha samajittatvam ishta anishtovapatishu. Keep your mind balanced all the time in profit and loss, success and failure, criticism and all those things we have seen some other occasion. Samajittatvam. Don't react, only respond. Samajittatvam. When profit comes, don't hit the ceiling. When loss comes, don't go down into the dump. Dignity under pressure, which is very, very important. So, nityam cha samachittatvam ananya yogena bhakti. You should be feeling the one, the whole universe is one. And you are a strand in the tapestry of the universe. This is called ananya bhakti. You are one with the universe. You are one strand in the universe. The whole tapestry is one. Something happens here will affect there. Ananya yogena bhakti. Maicha ananya yogena bhakti. Vivikta desha sevitum. Occasionally be with yourself, he says. Go to a secluded place, on the river bank, or the seashore, or the mountain, or in your own puja room. Spend at least half an hour with yourself, watching your own inner thoughts. Feeling your inner being, recouping yourself. So, in the crowd, you have to be, at the same time you can be till away from the crowd. So every day spend some time watching your thoughts, so that gives you the training to watch your thoughts while you are in interaction. Aradirjana samsa. There are some people, they should always be in the crowd. Otherwise they feel claustrophobic, lonely. Don't feel that. Loneliness and aloneness are different. Loneliness, you cannot deal with yourself. Aloneness is you are happy, you can manage yourself. So, Aradirjana samsavi, adhyatma jnana nityatum, and understand the importance of Atma Vidya, importance of knowing who you are. That is very important. It is not just knowing the world. Knowing who you are is very, very important. Without that, you don't have any anger in life, any pivot in life, any stability in life. So, knowing yourself is very, very important. which is the bane of the modern world. They know everything about the world, but nothing about themselves. So knowing yourself is very, very important. And then, what is the benefit of knowing yourself? That also you should know. The benefit of knowing yourself is you can always live in perfect peace and happiness. That also you should know. So these are called the values you have to practice while you are interacting with the world, so that your mind is serene. When the mind is serene and stable, you can get the realization of your true nature. You can get a vision of the divine. So these are the values. From the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, you have to practice. And so go to that and read that particular section. And with this understanding you got today. And so that's it. So next week I'll be talking about 2 prakritis and 2 estates. That's what I'm going to do. So we are a combination of 2 prakritis, 2 natures, consciousness and matter. And their interaction is the flow of life. And in that interaction, we come to like a light and shadow, light and shade. Consciousness and matter interact, creating the flow of life. And in the process, we come to live in 2 estates, the divine estate and the demonic estate. We will be discussing on that next time. What are these 2 natures which are interacting, creating the flow of life? And in the process, sometimes we come to the shady part, sometimes we come to the lighted part, and thus the life unfolds. That is what we are going to see tomorrow. The divine 2 natures and 2 estates where we come to live. Thank you very much. Hari Om. I have taken a little more time, but thank you. Hari Om. See you next week. See you tomorrow for meditation.